it's Natalie's starfish and Sherlock's starfish, and we're going to sew today. Oh, this is exciting. All right, so we've got our red, white, and blue rolls that we made from a jelly roll. Jelly rolls look like this. We had long strips we put together. We had 5 groups, or 5 fabrics and 4 groups. I had it laid out. That's in a previous video. Thank you, Sherlock, for making all kinds of noise. And after I did the layout, I wanted to show you, I made some really weird notes. It looked almost perfect. I was trying to figure out what the problem was. And so I labeled each of them, and what I ended up finding was my outside ones needed to be swapped around. That way when you fold the quilt around or fold it this way, the pattern still is contiguous. Kind of interesting. When I get the quilt top together, I'll show you what I mean by that. But this is opposite of these guys back here. So I've got 16, there's 16 blocks. They are diagonals, and the next piece I'm doing is sewing the diagonals. We want to be really careful sewing those diagonals because they can stretch, and we don't want to. We got to be really careful not to stretch them. So just want to let you know about that. These are the pieces we're doing. We are sorry about that. So we got the 2 diagonals, 2 triangles. We're going to sew the diagonal, and then after that we're going to sew all the pieces together. So step 1, sew the 16 diagonals. Step 2, sew the 16 blocks. We'll do pairs, then we'll do quads, then we'll do 8s, then we'll do 16. We'll have the whole thing together. Ta-da! Sounds so simple, but there's a lot of work to do, and it's going to look fantastic. Red, white, and woohoo! All right. Thank you, Sherlock. Want to let you know where I got this from. This is. Here it is. There we go. Kimberly Bell. This is the Star Spangled Banner jelly roll that I got from Missouri Star. What a fun place to go visit. Oh my goodness. Like we need to spend extra money on quilting fabric. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We do indeed. Oh my goodness. What would we do? We were going to do it anyway, right? Sorry about licking the fingers. It's just what I do. Alright. So I'm going to do these one at a time and iron them at the same time. And then put them back so that I don't lose my place on this. Like I said, you want to be very, very gentle with that diagonal sew. If you're not pulling. Because that is you're on the bias. The bias stretches. So we gotta be real careful of that. So, all right, let's iron. All right, so this is what our first piece looks like ironed. And we wanna iron to the dark side. So what that means is we wanna fold the lighter side over to the darker side. In this case, our darker is the blue checkers. And the lighter is this beautiful white with flowers in it. Oh my goodness, red, white, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. All right, and I'm gonna put this back where it should be and grab the next one, which is these 2. All right, I got 16 to sew. We'll get those sewn. So Natalie, I have a question for you. What about these tails? What do I do with these tails? We're gonna snip those off, but we're going to do that when we square up these blocks. So after I get all the diagonals put in, I'm gonna show you how to square up the blocks. And on a quilt that you want all the points to come together, or there's things that you want to line up, you really do want to square off. If you've got rectangles that you need to make sure that those points actually get to the right spots, you're going to also need to, we call it squaring up or trimming it up. You want to find what is the low, I'll show you that in a second. I know I'm already starting to talk about it. I'll show you. All right, ironing away. Iron to the dark side. Whoa. What do you think, Sherlock? Does that bark on the dark side? Yes, yes you do. Little barker. Ooh. Sewing away. So this is the, which block is this? This is the 13th block. Wow. It's not lining up very well, is it? Okay, so that's going to be okay because when we go back and square this up, we'll be time, but I want to get it close. So I'm trying to get these 3 points. Here we go. The point, the end, and the end. What's really important, it's kind of crazy, is this point right here. All right, let's go. Sounds strange, like, wait, the point that's on the opposites, yeah, that's the one that's the one that will give us the best square, we hope. And if not, we'll end up ripping the seam out and doing it again. No worries. Time to iron. Okay, so I've got the last one done. I'm gonna put it back so I don't lose its spot. And it's facing that way. Yes. I agree. All right. Ooh, they look good. They look good. So the next spot, Sherlock. The next spot is we're going to be squaring these up, which means it's going to be losing their tails, but they're also going to get squared. So they're all the same square size. My goodness, that dog's crazy. All right, let's square up. All right, here we go. Here is the secret to wow quilts. It is the squaring up. We want everything to be on point. And what we're going to do, I'm going to be using this quilt square, excuse me, that's got sorry about the corgi. It's got the different lines. I'm going to be doing this in the beginning with 11 1/4 inches. And then later I find a smaller block that is actually 11 inches. I can't get to 11 1/4, so I slow it down. I'm going to show you 2 blocks, and if you notice, I'm just taking just a little tiny bit off, but that little tiny bit and having every single square perfectly aligned really gets everything on point. And this is that point that I'm talking about that will give you that wow factor that we always look for in our quilts. It is such an awesome thing to do. It's really important on these diagonals. When you're doing diagonals, you're sewing along the bias, and that bias can do some little stretching here and there, and this part, just these little tiny pieces, just little threads here and there, and then later on I show you the scrap pile, which is kind of fun, but it makes them so perfectly square. And then that nice edge gives you something really nice to be lining up your sewing machine to and making it just absolutely wonderful. This quilt is really going to be that red, white, and woohoo that we're looking for. The fabric is already gorgeous. How it is all coming together has just been really wow. So there you go, zip, zip. There's one side, a little tiny piece, a little snooky at the end there. And if you notice, I'm using that diagonal line. I'm using the diagonal of the square block to go along the diagonals, and I'm looking not just at the edges, but I'm looking at that diagonal to get that point at the very end of where the diagonals come together, because that point is going to line up to either the blocks or it's going to line up to the X, depending on where you're at in the quilt. So, and it's always going to be the smallest block that you have defines what size it is, unless that block is so small that you're like, you know what, I'm going to take this block out, I'm not even going to use it. So if it's way too small, you can go ahead and take it out. But in this case, it wasn't, the differences weren't that big. So there you go. There's 2 of them. Oh my goodness, look at that beautiful square. Well, we thought 11 1/4 was going to be the right size, and now I've got one that I can't get to. I mean, I can get to 11, but I can't get to 11 1/4, which means I get to go back and trim all the other ones up to 11. Yay! All right, so we got all the blocks trimmed down to 11 inches square. Thanks, Sean. We've gone from a jelly roll, looks like these, to this. And then I just wanted to show you the scraps. It's always kind of fun to look at the scraps. There we go. There was all the little pieces to get them to 11-inch squares. So they're 11-inch squares. And we're going to go ahead and close this video, and the next one we will be putting nice blocks together. So we've got 16 blocks now. They're all nice and square. And we're going to do red, white, and blue, woohoo! Or red, white, and woohoo. Red, white, woohoo, woohoo! I love quilting. They're so soft. All right, see you in the next video. Bye!